everybody, and welcome. And I want to welcome my friend Colleen, the cool Crone. Gosh, I met Colleen probably when I began. We were very,
Yeah, I think it was 4 years ago. It was 2021.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think it was 2021.
We don't always have a chance to work at the same time together because of time constraint and also distance constraint. But I know from what Colleen has told people, myself, others, that she is a person who loves Renaissance fairs, festivals, whatever you want to call it. And so do I. So we decided, actually, I was looking at the first time I put this up. It was July 8th. And then we met, we had a little problem with the timing. So we decided to wait until now after I got back from my vacation. And I'm really glad we did, because we did some work Thursday night and it was quite revealing. So yeah, so give me a big hand for Colleen for being on with me. Colleen and I are both Libras.
Yes.
And both have Capricorn Rising signs.
Yes, we do.
And we both work full time.
We do.
Still.
Surprise.
Yeah.
And I grew up on the West Coast in Seattle, and now I live on the East Coast in New Jersey. And Aley grew up in Boston, New Hampshire. And now she lives in Washington.
That's right. And that's where Cleo is still, right?
Yes. Yeah, my sister. Yes, she's still in. Gosh, I want to say Everett, but I don't think it's Everett.
Oh, okay. But she's off the I-5 probably.
Exactly.
Somewhere.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Well, that's really awesome. And so we decided to kind of, I don't know, it just kind of morphed as we went along.
Yeah.
But I had a curiosity, certainly because we're both the same sign and the same rising sign, and the same interests and the same work ethic. Yeah. I just wanted to pull all this together into some kind of because we know each other, everybody. We've had past lives together. Yeah. So
when you have that conversation with people and it just doesn't end because you've got so much, that connection. Okay.
I do. So much in common that it's you can't ignore it. So Colleen does a lot of things. She does astrology. She does tarot. She does, apparently, I didn't even know she did palmistry. She does past lives. Is there anything you don't do?
I do something that I call the cosmic clairvoyance reading, which is just getting messages from your angels and guides and helping you get messages from your angels and guides. I mean, I think there's so many people now who have taken Val's classes. There's not very many people left to give this service to.
No, I know Val has really done, and actually Val has opened up the doors for so many of us to know what's available to us. So I agree with you there.
Val's another one that every time I talk to her, I look at the stuff that I've learned and I'm doing and what she does and what she's probably just learned for herself. So similar, the information that has come through. I trust her so much with her information. It's just
that's very
little shameless plug for Val.
Little plug for Val, killing him back at dragonfly crystals. And Val and Gerald and Marina and Sherry, I believe they're on your shows a lot. The Oracle is one of your shows, and you also do polytarology. And work with politics. And so I know people have caught that as well. So
thanks for the plug. Thanks.
Of course. That's what we're here for. So I want to say hi just to a few people. I'm not going to spend much time saying hi. I want to thank you all for being here. I want to thank Donna and Jackie and CJ and Judy. It's nice to see you. They are. Kevin Lewis is here. Wonderful.
Wow. Hi, Kevin.
Yeah, it's wonderful to have you here as well. Bella Dawn, love going to Renaissance festivals, but as you gotten older, you're not able to. I totally understand. My first one was in Texas. The Texas Ren Fest is huge. As a matter of fact, they have they own their own land, and they leave those buildings up all the time.
Mhm.
Did not like living in Texas, but I did like the Texas Renaissance
It's
Festival.
one of the biggest, and I
It
think that
is.
it's the same company now that owns the one in New
Oh,
York,
really?
which is
Yeah.
also very big and owns their own land and keeps those buildings up all year. So it's the same
Okay.
kind of model. Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And if you've never been, then may not know they sell like chicken legs and or turkey legs. I guess
Turkey
it's turkey
legs.
legs, isn't it?
Turkey legs.
They have
Yes.
jousting. They have jousting. They
Mhm.
have things like that. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about my 50th birthday, which was 20 years ago, and what my husband did. But I want to wait and just look at some of the comments here. So, hi, Amanda. When you were little, you went to the Ren Fair one year. Friends were running a stall, and a young Nancy. Oh, you got to yell, turkey legs, plum pudding.
Yeah. How many
That's
times do you
cute,
get
honey.
to say that in your life? You know?
Really? Yeah. Uh-huh. Absolutely. Or mead, I guess. Do they call it mead? I
Oh,
don't know.
yes.
Yes, they
Mead.
do.
Mead. Yeah.
Yeah.
And in a little while, you're going to learn why we all think it's just a hoot to call turkey legs and plum pudding and drink mead. Yeah.
Okay. Great to know. Great to know. Hi, Jen B. Kimberly. You enjoyed the owl and hummingbird show, she says. Oh, that's Kevin was having that. I'll have to check that out. That sounds
Yeah.
good. W3 Shifting Veils. I hope you're feeling better today. I do. Your friend and her son dressed up every year in Richland. I've been to that one too, Anita.
Oh.
I've been to that one, and we dressed up as well, but not with the costume I wore 20 years ago. I decided to be a wench instead because I just really wanted to be a wench. You know, it's so much fun. Let's see who else is here. Bella, you are Bonner Springs, Kansas. Good. Okay. I didn't know there were so many. Bristol, there's a Bristol Ren Fair in Illinois.
Yep.
All right. Oh, you used to dance at them, Debbie?
Mm.
Well,
Well, look at her name. Look at her name, Debbie, Three Shifting Veils. I bet
yes.
you're a belly dancer, huh, Debbie? Let me
She
know.
might be.
Uh-huh.
Yes,
Well,
yes.
who does the
Yeah.
shifting veils besides belly dancers, right?
Well, that's very true.
Or I
Very
should say, who does it well, huh, Debbie?
uh-huh.
Who does it well?
Yeah, that's awesome. So I'll throw out this little story, and then I want Colleen to talk about some things as well. And then we're going to talk about our past life connection, which is fascinating to us both.
Mm-hmm.
So I was living in Lynn, Mass, and my husband was being very surreptitious around my birthday. And he said, you can't open any boxes that come in. You can't do anything, basically. And I'm like, okay. So the day of my birthday, he wanted me to take it off, and I refused, and he was not happy. So he ended up taking the dog and driving down to Connecticut to the Connecticut Ren Fest. And he had booked a bed and breakfast there, and he brought all my birthday gifts and put them all over the bed. Oh. And he came back home to get me, which was quite the drive because that's not a great area to, it's like really toll road and everything. And he picked me up at college. He said, and don't ask me where we're going. So we get where we're going. And I'm like, where, why are we here? This is cool, whatever. I opened up the most beautiful gifts you've ever seen. Honestly, he had gotten me a complete queen's outfit, and it had been done by hand by whoever did it, with the big thing underneath. I had a veil, and I had shoes. I had everything that I needed, and he had a complete male consort costume and he said, we're going to the Connecticut Renaissance Festival, and you are queen for the day, and you will be taking part in the festival. And I said, wow. Oh God, I know. Wow. It blew my mind. He said, I was worried you'd see me rummaging through your underwear drawer because I was trying to find the right fit, the right size and everything, and shoes and this and that. And I couldn't believe he pulled this all together. Plus, what he had done was he had asked them if I could be a part of a chess game. Oh, yeah. And so I was a chess piece on the chessboard. Yeah, the huge, like on a field.
Yes.
And I look up and I see my son, and I see his girlfriend over here, and my daughters from Chicago was there. My best friend from high school was there. He had pulled all of this together, and I could not imagine that he could get that done, but he did.
Wow.
Yeah. He said 50 is nifty. And I said, it sure is.
Wow, that's great.
I know.
That is great.
Yeah.
That's great. Oh, amazing.
Different. Very different.
Very different. Very different.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. Oh.
Yeah. So tell us about what you've done, honey, what you've done at the Renaissance festivals.
I was not a big Rennie when I was in college, although I was I was going to NYU probably right about the first couple of years for the New York Ren Fair, and they were offering, they were saying you can audition, you can be a part of the cast. And I was from Seattle. I wanted to go home for the summer. I didn't want to. So I didn't do it, And then when I joined the Coven, this was such a big thing for them. I didn't have clothes, nothing. I didn't know anything about it. And because I knew something about it from doing theater, but I didn't know anything about this particular fair.
Sure.
So we started going, and I started collecting costumes and stuff. And right about 4 or 5 years before that, I was married to a man whose best friend worked at the Ren Fair. So I was trying really hard to get hired as a card reader at the Ren Fair. And I almost did, but it just never came to pass. So fast forward about 10 years after that, my friend from the high priestess of the Coven gets a call from a woman that she knows who's also a witch, and had initiated a lot of people that we knew. We kind of knew her. And she said, I need readers. Do you know anybody who's a reader? And so my high priestess calls me and says, are you up for working at the Ren Fair? I know you don't like trumping around there all the time, but would you do it? And I was like, well, yeah, if I don't have to walk around all day. It's great.
Yeah.
So on that, I started doing it, and I've been doing it for 8 years, and it's really great. At a certain point, I got my own booth through the same woman. I mean, I don't own the booth or anything, but yeah. So I do tarot readings, I do palm readings, and I do a little astrology, but I don't do a lot, because in the early days of being up there, the cell service was so bad. I couldn't get my phone. I couldn't get any information. Now my daughter is doing it with me, because of course I have to drag my kids into this, but my kids are they're pretty connected, I must say.
Yeah.
And so she's like, Mom, just drag an ephemeris up there. And I'm like, oh my God, taking up those books every weekend. She's like, yeah, people will love it. You're pulling out this like ancient text. And I'm like, no, they're just paperbacks. They don't. And she goes, well, so put a cover on it. And I'm like, she's thinking bigger than me. So that's what we do now. We take an ephemeris out. Honestly, I use my phone. It's so much faster. But I do a little bit of that. We developed a few specialty readings for astrology that just focus on Venus and Mars, which is really fun. That was my daughter's idea. I do past lives at the Ren Fair, and which is kind of hard for some people, but I do it. And and so I've read there for years, and I really, it's really helped me get much better at reading.
Sure.
Because you just have to. I've learned how to manage my own energy much better because of this, and manage, not just picking up everybody's energy and going home with it, so it's been a really great experience. I've made a little money at it, but it's not, it's not like
that's not the purpose either, really. No,
it's really not, but it's fun. And ironically, in the booth that I'm in now, she doesn't have me wearing a true, like, even a wench costume or anything. I wear it's like a polyester caftan that I got off Amazon. It's not. And then she has to doll it all up with a headpiece and some skull jewelry and stuff. But that's it. So I hope at some point she decides to maybe alter the costume, because the costume is just it's
part of it.
Yeah, but I would rather be in more Renaissance-y looking stuff. But
I guess that's what I mean. It's part of the flavor of it. Yeah.
So I don't quite get her vision, but I'm working for her, so that's what I do.
Right. I totally get it.
Yeah.
I
So
remember there was a sheriff that was walking around and giving
yeah.
tickets to people at the Renaissance Festival. And so my husband was told before he went to have a pouch with coins, gold coins in them, fake ones, of course.
Right. But
And he came over to jail me because I was the queen and I shouldn't be walking around with everybody else. And he gave me a ticket. So my husband pulls out his gold. I mean, it's so much fun because people talk in that lingo there mostly.
Yeah. Well, and these days, the ones with this, now that they've been purchased by these big corporations, there's a lot less of that, but you still have most of the vendors, most of them will still greet you with good day, my lady, or good day, good sir, and stuff. But the joking around, all the double entendres with the sexual innuendo, they can't do that anymore.
That's probably no more.
They can't do that. In fact, every year I have to take, for my regular job, I have to take like sexual harassment training and DEI training basically. And I have to do it again for the Ren Fair because they're in two different states. One's in New Jersey and one's in New York. So I have to take it for both of them. But it's still,
I have to do it for 4 colleges every term.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
And it's like, oh, I'm so sick of doing this, but anyway, I understand.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's what we do.
All right. Well, you want to tell them a little bit about the food?
Now the food is very interesting. They are at our fair, and I guess it would be the same for it's Texas and I want to say Wisconsin that does our fair. But I'm just going to look it up really quick because it'll say right on the website which ones it is.
Sure.
It's
Amanda, this is a riot. I had 2 guys pretend to fight over me. One had my legs and the other my arms. And of course, I thought it was real at about 8 years old. Oh, that's adorable, honey.
Oh, that's so cute. Yeah. So it's not Texas. It's the Southern California and the one in Bristol.
Okay.
That's the one that this company owns. So they have to, I mean, if they're going by the rules that were long ago and far away, they have to serve food that would have been served in the Renaissance. So that's why you have the turkey legs. You can have, anything that can be cooked, not a microwave or anything like that.
Right.
So they serve, what do they serve? They do hamburgers. They do.
Do they? Oh,
yeah, they do. Well, they do sandwiches that are like hamburgers, and they do more a sliced meat sandwich, but they do French fries. I mean, they do. They just do. But they do salads, and I don't think salads were big in the Ren Fair.
Probably not.
In the Renaissance,
yeah.
But they'll do like cheese platters and things like that. That's more authentic. And I think, the thing that I used to get is a baked potato, baked potatoes are cool, Cornish pasties. They probably serve that too.
All right.
Yeah. They
well, at the one in here in Washington that I've gone to, I actually could bring my dog in and she was dressed in a Renaissance outfit.
Oh, that's
I carried her. She was a little king. But they have like root beer and you buy the mug and you can fill it up. And it's really not Renaissance Festival, but there are people that can't sit in the wine garden or the mead garden.
The pubs are interesting. They do drinks with mead. So they do mead with like a shot of mead inside of like hard cider.
Oh, okay.
Probably pretty authentic. They probably did that in the Renaissance. They do all sorts of different meads. They do all sorts of different ales because that's very much what they would be drinking. So the hard cider, the mead, the ales, that's the main thing. But now with all the they're also selling, the canned, not cocktails, but like the spritzer with booze, like the White Claw, that kind of thing. They sell those too. And honestly, that probably would have been something that they did because people didn't drink a lot of water back then. They drank
no.
They drank other stuff, and you gotta change that stuff up. If you drink the same stuff all the time, it's boring,
Yeah, very true.
Yeah.
And I agree about the arts and crafts
Yes.
tables. They're wonderful. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I should go grab what I made up in Salem. It was very Renaissance-y.
Yeah, go right for it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna go grab it. It's very cool.
Okay. Wonderful. Yep. Garnet Norfolk punch made by monks, made with herbs. Ooh. Garnet, do they have these over in, they must have these over in merry old England. There was a place, there is a place, I don't know if it's still there, in Boston called Medieval Manor or something like that. And although it's not a Renaissance festival, it is a place where you go and you get to eat. You can dress up if you want, and you eat with the king, and the king sits at the table, and you have to follow the king's orders, and you have to eat with your hands. And I've never gone to it, but one of the reasons I never gone to it is you have to ask the king for permission to leave to go to the bathroom. And he makes you go through all of this crazy stuff in order to do it. But this place, Medieval Manor or Medieval something or other.
Medieval times?
Maybe it's kind of like that, where it's a dinner that you go to with the king. Basically.
Yeah. Our fair is really based on Queen Elizabeth,
Okay.
The Queen Elizabeth.
Yes.
And so they hire actors to be the queen and all of her court and all of that stuff. And the jousting actors are just really stuntmen, and they're really good at what they do. They're hired. Amazing. And they have a troupe of fairies that don't speak all day. They walk basically dancing through the whole day. And then at the very end of the fair at about, like, we close at 7, and I think it's about 6:00, where they come through and they're holding little lanterns and stuff like that. There's a fairy queen and her whole court, and they dance through the fair saying goodbye to everybody, kind of letting you know it's if not last call, it's like almost time to go home, folks.
Sure.
That's what it's about.
Get ready, everybody. We're closing soon.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. I love that idea. It's like a midsummer night's dream, right?
Very much. Yes, very much. Which I believe was written in the time of Queen Elizabeth. So
I think you're right.
That. Yeah.
Like 15 or 60, early 1600s.
Yeah.
Wow.
So they do the whole thing. This chess game is the Queen's chess game. We have that too.
Oh, yeah.
The life-size chessboard. It's the Queen's chess game, and you can participate in that. We have leather makers. We have artisans that make things with leather. We have all sorts of costume makers that sell their wares, all Renaissance type stuff. We have one shop. This woman does knitting, and it's amazing the stuff that she knits and crochets. It's just amazing work that she does. Hat makers, silver workers, people make mugs, people make all sorts of pottery things. We have a glass blower that does glass blowing. Let's see, we have a lot of artisans who do unusual art. Like we have one house that does painting on glass, and they do all sorts of treatment to the painting to give it different looks, and that's very interesting. We have one guy who specializes in painting cats in regal regalia.
Oh, I love it.
Amazing.
Oh my God.
And you can tell this person really loves cats, because the cats are just gorgeous. The cats, the way they're drawn. A lot of fairy stuff. So there's a lot of people doing, handmade fairy wings, handmade wands, handmade little things for the people to wear in their hair. Elf ears are a big thing. Horns are a big thing. Gnomes. The first thing that you come to when you come into the fair, well, after the bakery and the coffee, is a place that sells not just garden gnomes, but all sorts of stuff that they make that are kind of like garden gnomes, but different things, that you can have in your garden. We have the ladies that make the dried flower garlands for your hair.
Yes, I've gotten a couple of those before.
The things that they make are beautiful. They do a lot.
And there's some knife shops, some people that make their own knives and things.
The blade makers.
The blade maker,
So I mean, there's just it's an amazing array of artisans. I mean, it's just crazy. I'm just going to look up here the marketplace.
I
Uh,
love that you're
oh,
trained in glass blowing, Garnet. That's really cool. Wow. That's
oh,
neat.
wow. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, let's see. They're listing here dolls and puppets. I can attest to that. There's a lot of people that have, in fact, we have a new person who's walking around selling flowers this year. For years, it was this one girl or two girls that did the whole fair all day. And I guess they had to leave, and they have a new person. And this person is, she's very funny. She got one of the puppets that you make, like they have a dragon puppets that look like they're
Yeah.
talking to you, and then they have other little animals that they make that sit on your shoulder, look like they're talking if you want them to. And she got this thing, it was like kind of like dog ears that flop down over her
Uh-huh.
head, and she's got this little contraption in her pocket that when she walks by you, she makes a face and one of the ears goes bloop over her head. And it never fails to make people laugh. They're
Yeah.
just not expecting it,
They're not
probably
expecting it.
even if
Yeah.
they're seeing it. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
candle makers. That's what I forgot.
Oh,
Candle
yeah. Very
makers,
true.
soaps and oils and incense, woodworkers, the face painters and the hair braiders and
Yeah.
everything. They have all that
Yeah.
stuff. They have sculptors that do metalwork, and I don't think they have any stone sculptors right now, but they do have, I think, one or two sculptors that do metalwork.
Mhm.
And
Wow.
you can rent costumes. People make games and toys, and there are actual games to play. There's a whole arc, many, many
Yeah.
different games that you can
Right.
play.
Uh-huh.
People sell musical instruments, but better, people make music on really beautiful musical
They
instruments.
do. So what
Just
is it? The lyre, Lyre? That
yeah,
yeah.
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 It's an auto harp, Ellie. Nobody's playing a
Okay.
lyre anymore. I mean, I think there was one guy who actually played it. He's in the opening troupe. There's a troupe that stands at the opening that is there's probably 4 or 5 musicians, and then there's a
Mhm.
group of singers. And I think in that group of musicians, I think that guy plays the lyre and probably a couple of other stringed
Oh,
instruments.
cool.
It's just an
Yeah.
amazing place if you have that kind of, if you're interested in those kinds of skills, and you make that art, or you do that
Yeah.
craft, that musical instrument or whatever it is, it's a great place to work. It's just,
Oh, or just go if you've never been to one.
yes, yes,
They're so
that's right.
magical. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Colleen is in New Jersey. Yeah. So, and
Yeah,
she's talking about her festival is this
Uh,
is two of them. Is one
it's
in New York
it's
and one
in
in New Jersey? Yeah. Yeah.
the one I work at is in New York. It's the New
Yeah.
York
Okay.
Renaissance Fair. It's in Tuxedo, New York, and
Tuxedo. Oh,
yeah,
okay.
very
That's
hoity-toity
really
area of New York. Yeah, and
uh-huh.
there are some Ren fairs in New Jersey. In fact, I'm going to be going to one on one of my days off from this fair because they overlap. They don't run
Uh-huh.
the Sparta fair is what I'm going to, and it's not as long as the one that I work at, but I'm going
Mhm.
to that one with my friend. There's also one in South Jersey that's a smaller one that's just a few weekends, and
Yeah.
there's so many. I mean, the
There
big
really are.
ones, yeah.
You can go right in and put, is there a Ren Fair in Kansas or is there a Ren Fair in Oklahoma, whatever.
Yeah,
And, it will give you a list if there is one there or a closest Ren Fest to me, or it could be a Renaissance festival. It could be a Renaissance fair. They're named sort of differently that way.
and what's
Yeah.
the difference? Is the shorter ones called fairs and the festivals are the longer ones or something?
I don't even know. I couldn't tell you. That's a mystery. Bring back the arts and crafts, William Morris and the pre-Raphaelite movement. Merton, he had workshop. Oh, I would also love to see at these Renaissance festivals, like magic. I think they might even have magic shows, don't
Oh,
they? Like,
sure. Oh, sure.
okay,
Oh,
okay.
oh, the theatrical productions are amazing. They're
Mhm,
just
mhm.
amazing. They've got shows where they feature sword play, In fact,
Yes.
we have one that is probably, I know that these people do go down. The reason I thought we were connected with Texas is because a lot of the acts that perform at our fair also perform in
Also go there. Yeah,
they make kind of a circuit when they can work the schedule out of
sure.
the various fairs. And I think they're called Buxom Vixens. And there's 3
Oh,
girls that do a whole show where it's a very, very fast patter, but they're doing sword play the whole time.
Oh,
Oh
wow.
my goodness, just amazing.
Wow.
There
Wow.
there is a
Yeah.
show, there's a show too where they do belly dancing, where they use swords for, like, they do the balancing the swords and that kind of stuff.
Uh-huh.
And the
Yeah.
woman who sings for them is just amazing. That's just amazing.
Yeah.
We have Dead Bob, who is pretty famous around the United States for doing all the Ren fairs. I think they're on about their 20th Dead Bob. That's
Oh.
been going forever. Um,
Uh-huh.
there's a woman called the Tiny Girl, and I know she goes all over the United States doing her show, and
Mhm.
she is a contortionist, but what she mainly does is balance and archery, but she
Mhm.
doesn't do just archery with her hands. She does
Oh,
archery with her feet.
you know what? That sounds so familiar to me. Yeah, okay. It really
Tiny
does.
Tiny Girl is
Kind of
effing amazing, and I do think she also does something with flaming arrows too. I mean, she's just
Oh my.
incredible. She's just
She is
incredible.
sounds
Yeah,
incredible.
she is
Yeah.
incredible. The
Uh-huh.
the the other show that's on that stage is also a magic show. Then there's the joust, and then there's the washing wenches, who are hilarious. They're very funny, and just that God, just a million of them. I mean, there's so many shows. It's crazy. It's
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
crazy.
It's fabulous. It's fabulous.
Yeah.
No, I want Colleen also to, before we go into some past lives we've had together, I want her to explain what Commedia dell'arte is, because it will come up in one of our past lives, and it's the same time period as Renaissance festivals.
Yeah.
And probably the troops that worked in that venue were around that people could see. They did it outside. I know that. So
Oh yeah,
you,
they traveled. They
yeah,
traveled. They were, I mean, in that time frame, there were a lot of entertainers who traveled. It was
yeah,
only the king or the queen that would have like a permanent house
correct.
musician or a permanent house jester. Um,
Hmm.
and people of the court, the ladies of the court, and certain probably musicians would join together to do like a play or a playlet. But generally, it was people who came in as a troupe from out of town,
Sure.
and these troops, the Commedia dell'arte troops, had set characters. So it was
Yes.
probably about somewhere between 8 and 15 people. But I just pulled up a list here of the basic characters that they had, because there's so many of them. So they would
Mhm.
have like it tells us what it is. So they would have a Zani, which was the trickster, the kind of,
Right.
not the like, if you think of Othello, not, what was the guy,
Mhm.
Iago, not like
Not
mean
like Iago.
trickster,
Yeah.
not like
Yeah.
Iago. He'd be funny. He'd be real
Mhm.
funny. There was Harlequin, who would be very funny.
Mhm.
Harlequin would be the comic relief. The
Right.
Columbine would be the comic servant.
Right.
She'd be
Yes.
the funny lady. And so that could be any age. She could play.
Mhm.
That woman had a career for life, whoever played that. And then they'd have like the coquette, that would be the young girl who was, if she was being funny, she'd either be playing as she was wily, or she was very stupid. She'd
Mhm.
be like one of those two things. There'd be il dottore, the doctor, the person who came in and saved the day. I
Mhm.
think Pulcinella was a clown. La
I think you're
Signora,
right. Yes. Yes.
yeah,
The Puccini. Yep.
La,
Yep.
La Signora would be the leading lady. So whatever the leading lady was, she would play that. And so they
Mhm.
would just have all of these set characters, and the
Mhm.
leader of the troupe would write various playlets. And if it was a hit, they'd just take it from town to town to town.
Right.
But these would not be long shows, because mainly people were improvising it. But after a while, they would settle into a script. But the main person who wrote the play did not sit down like and write out every word
Right.
you're going to
Yeah.
say.
It's
They'd be
kind of
like,
like SNL in some ways. This
it's
is the
very
scenario. You make up the words. Yep.
That's
Yep.
exactly right.
Mhm.
That's exactly
Yep.
what they would do. And
Yep.
and like SNL, they would have set characters that they would play. They might have
Yep.
different names. They might be in slightly different situations, but they knew what they were supposed to do. And so they
Right.
got quite good at it. And that makes the improv much easier to do, because
Absolutely.
you know the path you're on, you know where you're leading to with this, as long as you know the premise and what the big punchline's going to be.
Right. Yeah, very true. Very
Yeah.
true.
So
Yeah,
that's what the Commedia troops would be. And like I said, they'd be anywhere from like 8 people to, I guess, maybe up to 20 people even.
I would
And
say. Yeah.
and they might have musicians with them, they might not, but they'd have one main person who wrote the plays and kind of gave them the guidelines of what to do. They would rehearse outside of town and figure out what the general play was going to be about, or several, because they had to entertain people for a while. This was before the days of, anything. And,
Right.
like Punch and Judy, they weren't commedia, they were puppetry. And they would
Right.
travel with their wagon and they'd open the curtains and do the little show with the puppets. Very easy to do. The 2 or 3 or 4 people who traveled in the wagon did all the voices and ran the puppets.
Mhm.
But they
Right.
had to write the plays and they had to keep them topical, both Commedia and the Punch and Judy troops. This was how people got their news sometimes, just like you get it now from
Absolutely.
YouTube tarot readers. Well, in those days they got it from
Yeah.
Commedia troops, because
Mhm.
if they kept it topical, people would be like, yeah, I saw the king do that, or yeah, the queen hasn't been seen in months. What's wrong with her? So
Yes.
they would
Yeah.
weave in the politics of the day, presented as part of the stories, and that's how people figured out what was going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. I remember being asked to teach world drama in one of my colleges, and everybody loved talking about Commedia dell'arte.
Oh
And
yeah.
it really set some of the archetypes,
Yes.
like the miser, the doc, all
Mhm.
of the archetypes that we now see even today.
Yes.
And there was also a character called Scaramouche.
Yes. Let me
And I
pull up
believe
the
it had to do
name.
with all mouth. I believe that was what he was called, Scaramouche all mouth. And if you listen to Bohemian Rhapsody, you will know that Freddie says, "Scaramouche, can you do the fandango?"
Yeah.
And yeah, and I remember my students going, oh,
Scaramouche.
yeah, yeah. It
Yeah.
was so much fun. Yeah, yeah.
So Wikipedia, is this Wikipedia? I don't know if this is Wikipedia or not, but Scaramouche, it just says, is the stock clown character. The role combined the characters of the Zani and Il
Mhm.
Capitano, who would be the
Right.
head guy. And
Uh-huh.
he was a big favorite. He wears
He
fancy
was.
servant clothing. And
Mhm.
what else are they saying here? I don't know. What are they saying? Oh gosh, I have to. Okay, this is a whole big article. We don't want to get into that. But
No.
anyway, yeah,
Yeah,
he was a big favorite, because
sure.
he could be real funny, or he
Mhm.
could just be funny acting like like almost like a Trump kind of character, like overblown, like I'm the greatest, and everything.
Ego.
Yeah, he could be like that too.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
because a lot of comedy is, you take some human characteristics and then you exaggerate them as far as you can.
Yeah.
You don't stop short. There's nothing subtle about doing
Mhm.
comedy very often. Most of the,
True,
single
true.
stand-up comics can do subtle things, but in a group, you're way out there. And that doesn't always mean that you're loud. It could be
Right.
the way you look, the way you dress, the way you speak. It could be the things you talk about, but they had to be big and overblown so that the audience understood them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So this is sort of now moving into Colleen and what she does with past life readings. She puts you into a meditation and she's having you go back and take a look at lifetimes that had something to do with you. And in this case, we both were looking, I think, at this point as to why we were so interested in this time period and what we like about it. And so she went back and did her own past life reading. She's going to tell you a little, and then I'll tell you what happened when she did that with me. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I do this for people, and it's not always geared towards I'm trying to get to a
Right.
specific lifetime, but
Mhm.
it is good when you do the meditation and you go up to the Akashic records. It is always good to have an intention.
Right.
That way, you're not going to be disappointed in the outcome, because you're probably going to get what you're looking for. And in this case, I was looking for the connection between me and Aley, because we both felt very strongly that we must have a past life connection, just for the fact of how quickly we became friends after we met each other. It just was almost instantaneous. And all the things that we had in common, all the coincidences in our lives that were similar, it was just uncanny. Although I gotta say, since I've joined YouTube, I have met many individuals that I'm like, oh my God, this is such a connection. So I'm very grateful to YouTube for that. But so I wanted to find out not only the connection between the two of us, but why are we both drawn to Renaissance fairs? What is that? Is that a past life connection? And indeed, it is. It is absolutely a past life. I think you can trace almost anything that you really need to do, or that you're really afraid of, or that if you put the word really in front of it, there's a past life connection there.
Absolutely.
I'm just saying.
Absolutely. I agree.
So what I found is that Aley and I were in a Commedia dell'arte troupe together in a lifetime back in the Renaissance. And I was the young girl. At this point in my life, it was me as a young girl that always had to play a man. I always had to play a man, which was weird because you could have had me playing female roles. And I did once in a while get to play the coquette, but apparently there was somebody else who wanted to do the coquette. I guess she wasn't too old yet to do the coquette. And I don't know, because of something, they had me play a man or maybe a young boy or whatever. But so I was always covered up. I wasn't really acknowledged as a girl in this troupe. But Aley was my father, and she was the head of the troupe. And she was very tall. She had very dark curly hair, very dark curly hair. I also had dark curly hair, but I was smaller. Maybe like my mother. I don't know. My mother was not in the troupe, apparently. She had passed or something. And Aley now we talked about Eddie Mercury and the Scaramouche, Scaramouche, can you say that? Right? No. And you remember Eddie Mercury's or Freddie Mercury?
Freddie Mercury had the big mustache.
That's what Aley had. She had a big handlebar mustache in this lifetime. And he was very gruff because he was running the troupe, and he, needed them to listen to him and kind of be afraid of him and whatever. And he also played in the troupe. He definitely was, he played a lot of the older men. So probably like the Dottori, the Capitano, he probably did a lot of those roles. I also played a clown character, but we're very close. But Aley was in front of the troupe. My father could not express favoritism. He couldn't express affection because I was just a part of the troupe when it was the whole troupe. But when we were alone together, he was very affectionate and he took care of me. And that was, I got to say, when I first met Aley, she was taking care of me. She introduced me in her videos and introduced me to everybody in this community on one of her videos very early on in my YouTube career. So it was very interesting that relationship persists.
Right. Yeah. It's so she had me going back afterwards. We did this Thursday night, and it was her idea, and it was a fabulous idea. And if we had done this show in July, we would never have probably done, we wouldn't have had that available for us. So I went back 3 lifetimes. Merlin came in as my guide, and I thought to myself, okay, he just wants to bring in the magic. And there was a lot of magic. I had a lifetime, actually had 3 lifetimes within that period of time that I was able to see. But one of them, Colleen was in it. I was living in a castle, I believe it was. And you were the, what did I say it was now? You were, you worked for me, but you were like a maid, but you knew everything. You knew how to write, you knew how to read, you were very articulate, and you and I just sort of clicked. And one of the things I noticed the most about these lifetimes was each time there was one parent or person missing, and it was probably due to the plague. It was probably due to low mortality rates, things like that. But we became very close, and she was my confidant. And later on, when my husband passed, she sort of helped me run things, and then helped my son in this lifetime, because he wasn't real swift. And so she sort of, I sort of took over and made it look like he was good. But Colleen ended up, I don't even know if they married or not, because when I passed, I wanted her to take care of him and keep him to be able to do it. And she did. And
Yeah.
it was fabulous. It really was.
Yeah, it was a cool connection. So while you were married to the man who owned the house, so you really were the lady of the manor.
I was.
In those days, all of the manors had a chatelaine, and that was the woman who ran all the servants, who ran all the house, who told everybody what to do, probably ran the accounts payable and the accounts receivable and all of that stuff. And that's why I had to be a person that could read and write and do all these things and manage it. And in the perfect position to help you to make sure that everything is okay. So interesting lifetime there. Very, very interesting
lifetime. There was another lifetime, and actually the lifetime with her, I think I had to go to France, or I thought it was France or Italy. I remember thinking that. And then afterwards you told me that you speak French, and that, that was something that you wanted to do when you were in high school, go to France at the time. So there was just all this recognition of patterns. And it made a lot of sense to me. Mostly in my lifetimes during that time, I didn't have bad experiences. I had a lifetime where my mother died in childbirth, which is what you're mentioning, Debbie. And my father had to take care of me. And so it might have been the same thing as me being the father and Colleen being my daughter, and maybe her mother died. So I don't know. There's something about it. Everybody keeps bringing up Chaucer and some of the other writers of the time. If you get a chance, do a deep dive, folks. If you get a chance, go to a Renaissance festival, or go to, one of the Shakespearean plays of the time, or get your own reading. And I agree with Colleen. We were only focusing on that time period for this past life reading, but it could have been other lifetimes that might have come through. And that we've lived more lives than we could ever imagine.
That's right. That's right. And when you go into a past life regression with anyone, you want to, I think you should set an intention, not necessarily that you want to go back to a certain time or whatever, but you could set an intention that you want to find out, for instance, why am I afraid of water? Why can't I go in the water? Or why do I hate black dogs or something? Like some issue that you have that bugs you. Or that is very wonderful. Why do I love Renaissance fairs? What's in it? Why am I doing that? And so, and then just, put that out to the universe, then go into the regression and let it flow. Let the stuff come. You will be amazed at what you come up with. You
really will.
Yeah. It's just amazing.
I've set an intention twice to find out why I have a fear of fish. And my fear of fish is because I drowned many times. And so I believe that right before I died, these big fish are floating around, or maybe they ate. I don't know. But it is fascinating to see. And you may not heal from it particularly, because I still have some fear around them. I don't know why, really. But at least you know why.
And that's the step. That's the step. That's the first step to getting over that stuff, is you have to figure it out. I do. I'm going to hold up the box. I was, for a while, I was like, geez, I'm doing all these past life regressions, and I need to do one for me. And I would do them, but I would have to record my voice, and then as the whole thing. So I bought these cards that are really actually amazing. I'm going to hold up the front of the box. These are past life oracle cards, and the deck is by Doreen Virtue, who doesn't have her name on it probably anymore, but Brian Weiss is a well-known authority on past lives.
He is.
And he's, I believe, a psychiatrist. I know he's got a medical degree, and I think
I
he's a
think you're right.
psychiatrist.
I think that's
And
how he found out, through one of his patients,
yeah,
that
probably
they were
through
past life.
hypnosis or
Yeah.
something, because a lot of
Mhm.
past life regressionists use actual hypnosis. I just use a meditation. And
Uh-huh.
even with these cards, you can get to issues in past lives that maybe you wouldn't even think of. Like I did one that was talking about a slave master relationship. And I was like, oh, wow, I never really thought of that. And you would not believe what I found out about myself in that. Things that were holding me back, things that were coming in and sort of complicating relationships, because I
Mhm.
had this underlying thing of past lives.
Yeah,
Oh,
absolutely.
Garnet, you're right. If you floated, you were a witch. If you drowned, you were. Oh, that could be another reason you don't like the water,
It
Aley.
could be.
Maybe
It
you
could
were
very
one of the
well be.
witches that was drowned. Yeah.
And do you know that one of the colleges I worked for 10 years, Salem State College.
Oh, oh, oh,
And
oh.
so I was in I knew why I was brought back to Salem. There was some connection there. What was it that you said you were going to show us that you got up to get? And
Oh,
I'm sorry
yeah.
about that.
So when
Yeah.
we went to Salem at the beginning of the month, well, to the 10th of the month,
Uh-huh.
still Mercury retrograde, and I took my daughter
Mhm.
to Salem. But
Mhm.
I don't know how well you'll be able to see this. So we went to a book binding class to
Ooh,
learn how to
nice.
bind books. And I'll show you the finished results. Pretty cool. So this is the book,
Oh,
and I
you
etched
do that in the front? Is
I
that
edited
you?
it. Yeah,
Okay.
they had
Okay.
stencils, and you could. It was that this was the easy part of the book, and you put
Uh-huh.
little things on it. And I got a little thing here, that stuff. But
Yeah.
here's all the little pages that you bind, and
Yes.
you literally just sew them into the book,
Yeah.
right? And then and what I was going to do is when we did our Venus and Mars readings, I was just going to write out just a few keywords for the person about the reading, and then just take a page out and give that to them during the
Oh, well,
reading.
cool. Yeah.
So I thought that
Yeah.
would be cool little thing to
It
have up
is
there.
very cool.
But
Yeah.
yeah, and you can put more pages in when you run out of them. You don't have you're not
Sure.
stuck with just
Yeah,
those pages.
rotates around. Yeah, it
Hmm.
does.
Yeah,
So you did go to Salem, Mass. Is
yeah,
where
we
you went?
did,
Okay.
and
Okay.
we really had a good time. We
I
really
bet.
enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I don't think we did all the normal touristy things, but just
Mhm.
we just had a great time. The first night we were there, we went on the I don't know what they call it, but it was a pub crawl with witch stuff.
Cool. Yeah.
Whatever
Yeah.
that was. I can't remember
Yeah.
the name now.
Yeah.
And we met the most wonderful people. It was a
I bet.
bride having her bridal party, having her bachelorette party in Salem. And this was one of the
Mhm.
activities they were doing. And
Nice.
we connected with like most of the people in her group. We just had these instant connections with. And
Mhm. Yeah.
um, it was it was just amazing. It was like, why are we all, it was crazy. But one woman lives in a town just 2 towns over from me. And she was
Oh.
up there. She's the maid of honor. The
Uh-huh.
bride herself was from New York. And,
Okay.
we all were very close to New York. And one of my daughters works in New York. And
Uh-huh.
they had a connection. Me and the other girl with where she lived, we had a connection, and my daughter had a connection with her. Then there was all these other connections with them. Well, with social media, they already, it was so easy for them
Yeah.
to, if they didn't already subscribe to one another, which a few of them they did, which was even
Uh-huh.
weirder. And
Yeah.
these were not big influencers. They just happened to subscribe to them,
Sure.
So
Right.
it was just really interesting that first night. We're just like, oh, this is why we came. Not
Yeah.
just that all the witch stuff, but to
Right.
connect with other
Connect with
people
others
who
of
have.
like mind. Yeah.
Yeah, it was so
Wow.
cool. It was just a
Yeah.
great experience.
When I was teaching there and had a night class there, Halloween you always canceled your class because you
Yeah.
can't get in or out of Salem.
No.
Everybody's there, everybody's doing
Yeah.
stuff. But there's so much to see, including the House of Seven Gables, the
Mhm.
East India shop is there where they used to do the trading, and there's a ship there as well that is from that time period. So
Wow.
you
Wow.
know, this again, I know not everybody can run to Salem. and see this, but if you're ever looking for a really fun adventure, it sounds wonderful. So you can pre-plan these things before you go, Colleen, so that you
Oh,
could
yeah.
do this or do that. Okay, with different
Oh, yeah,
vendors.
absolutely, yeah. And my daughter is a really good event planner. So
Oh, good for her.
she had us going all over the place to these really like we went to the Temple of Satan. We went to the Black Craft Company, which is
Mhm.
they started out, I guess, known for their coffee, but now they're also known for their cool goth clothes. And my daughter was really into the whole goth thing. Um,
Okay.
we went to a number of really beautiful, beautiful shops that
Oh yeah, there's
were
a lot of them.
maybe on the beaten path, maybe not. I
Mhm.
mean, my daughter was looking for a different ephemeris, because the ephemeris is the table of all the locations and
Astrological.
of the planets in astrology, right? And the
Mhm.
books are big and fat and thick, and the tables are like really tiny, and it's just, hundreds of pages of all of these calculations. And most people look at it and just go, "What the hell is this for?" Well, it's very important if you're an
It
astrologer.
is.
But
Yeah.
all of this stuff is in astrology software and online, in the astrology software online. But she wanted to have a book. So she buys the book, but it's for the year 2000 to 2050. Well,
Oh,
nobody born between 2000 and like maybe the last 10 years, they're not going to be asking for a chart because they're like 10 years old. People are not old enough to go and get that. And I was like,
right.
honey, you need the one from last century too, because
Uh-huh.
otherwise you're kind
Right.
of cutting yourself off from people. I mean, yeah, you'll get the 25-year-olds, but there's a lot
Right.
of other people who might want their charts done. And she
Yeah.
said, "Oh God, and we're starting fair the week after we're in Salem. When am I going to find this book?" And I was like, "Honey, we're in Salem. I'll find it. I'll
Find it.
definitely find the book."
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
did. I found the
Yeah.
book. I,
I bet you
I
did.
walked
I
into a
bet you.
shop, and the funny
Mm.
thing, when I walked in the shop, of course, there's a million really cool looking people, walking up
Yeah,
and, "Can I help you?" What? Very friendly, the people in Salem. Very
they are
friendly, and,
very.
and not in a perfunctory or superficial way, like actually very friendly and helpful people. So I
Mhm.
walk in and I said, "Yeah, I'm looking for your ephemerides." And I thought maybe the guy would know what I was talking about. So I just used the correct term and asked him for it. And he was like,
Mhm.
"Oh, yeah, that's a book." And I'm like, "Yes, it's a book. An ephemeris is a book that shows you where the planets are in the signs for doing astrological charts." And he said, "Oh, okay. Come here, I'll look it up." I was like,
Oh
"Okay." So
God.
he's not just giving up. He's trying to look it up. So he looked it up, and and he goes, "Oh, I know right where it is." And in his database, he knew right in the store where it was
Oh,
going to be.
awesome.
And he walked over.
Right.
There were two copies of that particular ephemeris. It was I think it was either the whole 1900s, or maybe it was just 1950 to 2000. And so I
Uh-huh.
bought it, and I took it to my daughter, and I said, "You didn't think you could find an ephemeris here in Salem? Here's your ephemeris." So she had it.
Ah,
Yeah.
that is so cool.
Yeah. It was funny
I
though.
don't know if they still have there was one, the Pyramid Books. I think it was Pyramid Shop or something when I was there, and I love going there.
Yeah.
The other thing that's really cool, everybody, is that when I was living there, they unearthed a statue in one of the little areas there, and it was Samantha from Bewitched on her broom. And so it's sort of cool that they put some of that pop culture in with the whole
Yeah.
thing.
That
But
that
yeah,
spot is so, I mean, everybody, it's not like they're mobbing the statue, but I
no,
remember that statue when I was there from 13 years ago when I was there. And I was telling my daughters about it. I said, "Yeah, we got to go find the statue of Samantha. That's a cool thing." Because a
it
lot of
is.
the stuff that I visited 13 years ago to me just seemed hokey. I just like,
Yeah,
okay, a lot
yeah,
of this stuff is just so hokey. I don't know. I don't want to pay for it. It's like,
right,
no, thank you.
right.
So we
Absolutely not.
saw that they took pictures at that statue, but in the Black Craft Company, when you go in, and if you go on their website, you'll see it. They have a suspended statue of a witch that's even bigger. It's like at least twice
Oh,
or maybe three times the size of Samantha, a witch
mhm.
riding on her broom. It is just gorgeous, and it is
That's cool.
so. When you walk in, this place. I mean, it's in an old building, right? And they kept the main entry point of I don't know if it was a bank or something. It's got this domed piece in the middle of the ceiling that is just absolutely breathtaking. And suspended from that is where this witch is. And you're like, wow, these people are really serious about witches.
They're really serious about it.
Yeah, they must be serious about witches. Yeah. So I loved it. It was great.
Well,
I said the word witch more times in Salem than I think I've said it.
I bet you did. I bet you
loved it. I love it.
Felt at home. We had a Hawthorne scholar at the college because, of course, you know, and you know, wasn't it Hawthorne also that wrote Hester Prynne? What is it? The woman that A for Adultery. Oh God, why can't I remember the name of
the Scarlet Letter?
Scarlet Letter. Thank you. I think he
Nathaniel Hawthorne. Let's see. List of books by Nathaniel.
Maybe not. Maybe I'm wrong. Yeah.
No, I think you're onto it. Hawthorne was known for. Oh God, I'm not going to read all this stuff.
No, it's all right.
Come on.
That's all right.
Wikipedia, Google just gave me the answer.
He was the House of Seven Gates.
Yes, he wrote the Scarlet Letter because they're also showing that under his thing. So he did write it. Yeah. There you go.
Yeah. So Jen has been sitting here and she's having visions as she's listening that she's been with Sun Psychic Jean and now she's seeing golden stars of light and astrological designs. This girl is quite a visionary, I tell you. That's really cool. And Garnet says Bewitched is on right now in the UK. So there are no coincidences.
I love it. Who is that with the stars? Who saw that? Jen
B?
B?
That's Jen B. Yeah, she just started her own channel recently.
Yeah. So Jen, if you're not already an astrologer, I would suggest that you look up what some of the fixed stars mean and where they are, because Regulus just changed into Virgo for I think the first time in the last couple of centuries, because it had been fixed stars by nature. We call them fixed stars because they move so slowly that to our perception, they don't move, but they actually do. They're just so far away from us, we can't perceive the movement very easily. So Regulus just moved into 0 degrees Virgo, which is good for me. I have my moon in Virgo. I'd love a little Sirius energy. And I have a connection to the star system of Sirius. So that's even better for me.
There you go.
But the astrological designs, if they're things you've never seen before, they may be either some sort of symbols for points in astrology that have yet to be created, or that are just mathematical points that you don't know about, because people are, astrology is a practice. It's like medicine or law. It's always evolving.
Right? It's evolving.
And or it could be symbols for some of the dwarf planets or asteroids, or something else astrological. So you may have hit on something that's just for you to explore and bring to us.
Absolutely.
That's what I would say. Yeah.
And that's wonderful. What a great way to end up what we're doing here. You're a Sag Sun, Virgo Moon, and Leo rising. Oh, it's evolving and morphing on the ceiling. Well, Jen, you may have a different bunch of visions coming to you. She had sent me a picture for the dream show. She had been outside with her friend and they went down a dark road and she saw something. So she took a picture and it looked just exactly like Mother Mary floating.
Wow.
It was amazing. Yeah, it was amazing.
So you got some stuff going on there, opening up your chakras.
Yeah, very much so. Very much so.
And your Virgo moon, I don't know what degree, if it's an early or late degree, but that's where Sirius is heading. Now, it's not going to be in even the first degree of Virgo, probably, for, I don't know.
A while.
Yeah, maybe a century, maybe 50 years. I don't really know.
Oh, that long. Okay.
Okay. I don't even know how fast they move. Because there's a reason that the ancients called them fixed stars. The ancients were looking at the planets and tracking where they went. That's where this all started. And if the fixed stars had moved more during a person's lifetime, they would have been able to note it. And even if the students had been able to note it, if the ones that lived on after they passed, so 2, 3, 4 lives or generations or whatever. So the fixed stars really were seemingly fixed, so that it moved into a new sign is literally earth shaking. That
It is. Yeah. Just like we're dealing with right now with, moving into Aquarius. And
yeah,
so
all the planets that change
all the
signs
planets
from
are
the
shifting.
spring through the summer. This is literally rocking the planet.
It is.
It's changing.
That's why we're living this lifetime the way we are. We signed up for this, folks. So
That's right.
Don't forget.
That's right. Yeah.
Well, everybody, please give a like and subscribe over to Colleen, the cool crone. And the information is down here in the show notes. And check out some of her shows. Check out her services that she offers if you're interested. And Colleen, thank you so much for not only giving me a past life regression that was wonderful, but for agreeing to come on here and talk about this topic, which I think was a lot of fun.
Oh, It was a lot of fun, Aley. I enjoyed myself thoroughly. Thank you so much. I'm so glad we got together with the past life regression. That was just, that was a real highlight for me too.
Icing on the cake. It was.
It was really icing on the cake. And go to Ren fairs, everybody. You'll love them.
Yeah, you will. Take care, everybody, and have a beautiful rest of your day. Thank you. Bye-bye.